So I wanted to ask you why sculpting. So for those of you who don't know what the plot of this book is, very briefly, it's a love story. It's also a story about the nature of art and what art is. And the protagonist has literally, in the story, made a deal with death to be able to basically sculpt anything just by sheer force and the power of his imagination out of his hands. And I was wondering why sculpture? So, you know, there have been some really interesting graphic novels recently, like David Mazzucchelli's book, Asterios Polyp, and it's about an architect, and they seem somehow related to the form of comics itself. Was sculpting at all for you related to comics or part of your interest in comics?
Actually, no. You know, I think that comics and sculpture make a good dynamic combination because you're struggling in flatland to evoke 3D space because it's kinetic. But I have to say that the choice of sculpture is one of the only things I didn't choose. I'm a very deliberate artist and a deliberate writer. But because this was something that existed in that old 3-ring binder from 30 years ago, it was the one thing I never considered.
You're very loyal to your past.
Well, it's not that. It's more like a jazz musician who decides, who spends 6 weeks working on a variation of, like, I don't know, Old King Cole. Or Old King Cole is a song, not just a poem, right? Yeah, okay, I'm getting some nods. Anyway, like that, the only thing that they never really consider is the initial idea, because the initial idea was just the genesis, right? And everything is about how they build on the initial idea. It's stone soup, basically. The only thing I never decided on was the stone, you know, because the stone was there when it began. So, and there's a few people have asked me that, and it's a fascinating question that I never even considered before. But after the fact, I think I lucked into something that works. It works in flatland, it works as a dramatic device, and also it works because my character, in defiance of all reason, is a stone sculptor, which is the dumbest thing to be in the 21st century. You know, there's so many wonderful materials that you can work with, but to work with this stubborn, obsolete thing that really only evokes garden gnomes and tombstones is kind of nuts, but it has a permanence, and it has that evocation of desperately craving something that stays.
Well, I was struck by the tactility that comes up so much throughout the book. And you know how haptic, obviously, a form sculpture is, and how haptic a form comics is. And there's this interesting theme where he sees his hands as actually separate from his person. Can we turn to one of those pages?
Oh,
I think
sure,
it's 157.
Yeah, you bet.
So the character actually starts screaming eventually at his own hands, but his sort of rant against his hands starts on page...
Yes, right here.
157.
Yeah, and you can see the progression as he is literally screaming his hands. In fact, here, ooh, can I read just a tiny bit?
I would love for you to read.
Yeah.
This is actually, I think, a quite funny part of a scene that turns grim.
All right, so first of all, you should know this guy's hungry. He hasn't slept in 3 days. He hasn't eaten in 3 days, maybe 4 or 5 days, actually. He's desperate. He's beginning to hallucinate. He's in very, very, very bad shape. So he's borderline delirious. Comes into this subway station because it was raining outside. He sits down on this bench, and then he just says, "Yeah, I know, you and me." Next guy is gone, that was sitting next to it, for reasons we can infer. Says, "Remember 10th grade? When, is it better here? Wait. Oh, wait, I have a book. Oh, my God, here it is." All right.
157.
157, thank you. Like I couldn't remember that, yeah. I actually forgot. Okay.
Speaking of tactility.
I know. Here we go, almost there. Oh, 157. Oh, print. Here we go. Yes, all right. Remember 10th grade? How Haley Robbins wanted a portrait of Chad from Nickelback? God, we hated those guys. But you drew it. You took one for the team. And I got kissed under the stairs while you slipped inside that sweater. But then we grew older. And you... Like, the beats in conversations are really important. That's something that comes with length. Is you don't have to have a word balloon in every single panel. You abandoned me, just like everybody else. You took everything I had and then forgot about me, as if I was already dead, as if I was never here at all. I'm gone, and you don't even care. And then I get to draw a panel I really like. I don't know why. I just really like that panel on top, and you can sort of see what happens from there.